The IPIC model is one way of organizing our thoughts around second language pragmatics.
It entails 4 key components: knowledge, analysis, subjectivity, and awareness. Each of these is designed to articulate specific skills needed for knowing what you mean and meaning what you say.
To explore this model, we will look at an example here. Let's take these strangers who meet at a carnival for the first time. They chat for a while, and one of them's ready to get going. She might say something like, "Hey, we should grab a coffee sometime. Nice to meet you." The question is, what does that expression, "we should grab a coffee sometime," really mean? If you're a language learner of English, you might take that to be a genuine invitation. Hey, this person's going to contact me for coffee sometime. But most English speakers use this expression as what we would call a pre-closer, or something to maintain solidarity in a relationship, but not an actual invitation, which is where we see pragmatic miscommunication in meaning.
Using the IPIC model, knowledge refers to the expression, "we should grab a coffee sometime," and examines the words, like coffee, and the structures, like the modal verb should, to dissect and understand the literal meaning of what is said. The analysis component involves interpreting that meaning, and as the speaker, knowing it's a good choice of expression to use to close the conversation. As the listener, it involves interpreting the real meaning of the expression. In this case, understanding that it is a pre-closer and not an invitation. Subjectivity focuses on the intentional choices that speakers make and their ability to explain those choices. For example, a speaker may choose to use "we should grab a coffee sometime" as a pre-closer, even if she understands that it may be misconstrued as an invitation, or she may choose to end the conversation differently. Finally, awareness looks at whether either speaker recognizes confusion or miscommunication during the conversation. In our example, it would be evidenced by some sort of negotiation around meaning.
To recap, knowledge is the component that enables learners to understand the structures and vocabulary necessary for pragmatic moves.
Analysis is the ability of the learner to choose from the vocabulary, phrases, and structures that they know to communicate and understand intended meaning. Subjectivity is the learner's ability to explain their conscious choices about language.
And awareness is the learner's ability to recognize the consequences and impact of those language choices in interaction and adjust accordingly. Each gives us a way to think about meaning and language for effective communication.
Now you might be asking yourself, how do I apply this example in my own language classroom or in my own language learning? One easy way to get started is to brainstorm. Think of examples in your L1 where what you mean isn't exactly what you say. Then compare those to examples in the L2. Another great way to get started is to write an I can statement for each component of the IPIC model as it relates to a language function. This example was created for suggestions in Spanish. What would your example look like? Finally, observe. Watch a language function in action by looking at examples on YouTube or from any other source, and take notes on a graphic organizer about each component of the IPIC model as you watch. But be careful, sometimes with popular sources like TV shows or movies, the writers play with the expected conventions of language in order to make us laugh or cry or feel something. The language you see in those sources might not be exactly what you would see in other contexts.